Welcome back to another episode of
Wine and Spirits.
Yeah. So
Well-
as you can see, we love Halloween and we wanted to keep this on for another episode. So
Yeah, I love Halloween so much. I'm not getting out of this thing for another month. So
not anytime soon. I love dressing up,
yeah,
period. So
like we said.
yes.
So, Myra, what are we discussing today?
Today we are actually going to be talking about Chris Watts again. But before we get into that, let's try this wine out. We got 1858 is the brand, and it is Sauvignon Blanc.
Is it from Minnesota?
I don't know if this is
Because
I think-
1858 is when we became a state.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, look at you. No,
Drop that knowledge. That's what I'm here for.
It's actually bottled in Fairfield, California.
So, not from Minnesota.
It's a product of the USA, but
Okay.
not Minnesota.
Oh, it
so.
does say 1858, California. So, okay.
Oh, gosh, it does say that on the front. Wow.
Well, let's give it a shot.
Yes.
See what we think.
Ooh,
Okay. I like it.
that's actually really good.
Yeah.
We're going to give our reviews and a rating
Yep, let's do that.
afterwards, but whew,
It is
another good
Friday.
one.
Why don't you guys grab your bottles of wine or whatever you choose to drink, maybe a cocktail, many bottles, and then have a drink while we discuss Chris Watts.
Yes.
I know that you and Megan had come up with this
Yep.
some episodes ago, and I know you said that you had so much feedback, and those are some of the things that you wanted to address.
Yeah. So we touched on this in an earlier podcast, the events of what took place, and had some comments on the video that we never got a chance to address. So today we're going to address them, shed some light and thoughts on the incident, and bring up new aspects that weren't discussed on our previous Chris Watts episode. So just kind of a quick overview if you didn't watch our previous episode. Chris Watts, 33 then, was arrested and accused of murdering his pregnant wife, Shanann, who was 34, by strangulation. And their two daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3, by smothering them.
Yep.
So he later faced 9 criminal counts, including murder, the unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and I believe the other one was tampering with dead bodies. Now, this event happened on August 13th, 2018. There were inconsistencies in his statements to the police, and this made the police suspicious. So he originally claimed that his wife had gone to an unnamed friend's house with their daughters after he left for work. However, oddities like the sheets being stripped from the beds and the wife and children being reported missing that didn't add up with him.
Yeah.
So the very next day, Chris gave a series of interviews pleading and wishing for their safe return. 2 days later, Chris' co-worker, Nicole Kessinger, which he, I guess, was having an affair with, she called the police to inform them of their relationship. So that's kind of another thing that tipped them off. And Chris ended up confessing that he spoke to his wife when she got home from her business trip and stated that the marriage was over, to which his wife said he would never see the kids again, and that's when he strangled her. So his daughter, Bella, walked in as he was wrapping up the body, which is kind of morbid.
Yeah.
He drove them to his work site, buried his wife, smothered his 2 children in the back seat, and then put them in the oil tank.
Yeah.
Their bodies.
It's very sad.
So that's kind of like just a wrap up of what we discussed on the previous episode. But there were some comments from a user at Goody Old Goldie 1975 that we were kind of gonna address. I can address it too, and then you can give your thoughts on it. One of the first comments was that they wrote, "Don't forget about the alleged other man in NC." So I couldn't find anything on that.
I
so
don't
was,
know if, yeah.
Okay, because I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I don't know about this other man in North Carolina.
So I don't know if they were saying that, Shanann was having an affair too, or what they were referring to, because they didn't elaborate on that comment. I did try to look it up to see if she was having an affair also, but could not find anything. So if you are watching this episode, if you could elaborate a little bit more on what you meant by that, I could kind of like dig into it a little deeper.
Yeah, put the comments on this episode because I'm curious too, because I don't
Right.
recall hearing anything about this other man as well.
And then another comment was they had said, we don't know if it was his child. And they said, I think if interested, you should dive deeper and make no mistake, there's no excuse. However, there's so much more. Again, I don't know what they were referring to as there's so much more. Like, are you still talking about like she was having an affair? When I was looking at the text messages between her and her friend when she was kind of pouring out her heart, it sounded as if her and Chris had decided that they wanted to have another kid. They were having some struggles in their marriage, and this is why they were going to do it. But then he changed his mind later and was like, you know, I don't want a kid now. And he was like freaking out about it. So it sounds like it was his kid. But I mean, again, if I don't know, did you hear anything different on that?
I didn't hear anything different.
Yeah.
I mean, the reaction when she told him that they were expecting that third child was like, he knew that she recorded a lot. So there's
Right.
that. Like automatically, if someone's recording my reaction, you could tell at first he's like, yay, what? We did it again. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't. I'm not saying he didn't act glad, but he also seemed to. You know, you don't want to start that with your wife, right? Like,
Right.
I mean, you don't. You told her you wanted something else for dinner, and it's a problem.
Right.
So what
Right.
I'm saying is, like his reaction was kind of like, it's fishy, but there's things that I'm not exactly like, wait, I'm confused.
Right.
Maybe I would say is the best thing.
And, most people aren't thinking that much of it because, yeah, that sometimes is a normal reaction for the woman to be more happy than the man. This was their third child.
Yep.
Kids are a lot of work.
Yep.
You know?
She had a lot more time to process it than he did because she told him.
Right.
She obviously wanted to make sure she was pregnant. So when you might have known for like, let's just say anywhere from a few days to a week, you have that time to sit and think of the best way to tell him and think of the idea to record it.
Right.
All those things. You get your little, whatever out. Like you're announcing it to somebody else. You're announcing it to the father of your child. So
Right.
it's a big deal. So you have time to do that. He didn't have time to do that. He has his first reaction, and that's all he gets.
Right.
And it better be good. It
yes.
better be positive.
Which is probably why he, was like, ooh, rate it in, pretend like you're excited.
Exactly.
So another comment that this user said was, I'd love to know mathematically how they came up with a number that at the end there you walk past. So when we were actually talking, I think Megan had said the statistic about passing by a serial killer in your life is the average person walks by like 5 in their entire life, but she didn't know where the statistic came from. So I looked up at from the New York Post, and actually the average person will walk past 36 murderers in their lifetime, but couldn't find where the source came from. And there was like this huge FBI document that it had like a details on like serial killers and like their profiles and all this other stuff, but like it didn't like go into detail on like how they come up with the number and where that statistic comes from.
And I think it makes a lot of sense about how many murderers you might have walked past, because realistically, let's just talk about the military. If you are ordered to shoot somebody, you murdered them. I mean, it might be orders to some people, and you might not count that or might not want to count that, but how many military men do you see? And people who have probably still survived Vietnam, the people who have accidentally killed somebody, manslaughter, self-defense, those are people who have killed other people. So if you're looking at the history with the way that the world is today, do you really think you haven't walked by somebody who has probably killed somebody else? You probably know those people, and that's just something they don't mention. Like I said, I'm going back to like the military situation because we have our wars in Afghanistan and other countries that we have to talk about. But I mean, my dad was in Vietnam. I know for a fact that he has probably shot some people, and because that's how we got here. Like we are refugees. So my dad was in the war. My brother that's still in Laos was in the war. You don't think that, they might not want to talk about those things, but there's two
Right.
people I know that have probably needed to follow orders and have shot other
Right.
people. So
That is very true. Yeah.
so
But
if you're going to add those statistics
I
to
know.
those numbers, then
It's probably a little bit higher.
I'm just adding that because it's the easiest answer I have for people that are good people that
Right.
had to do what they need to do. And then if you think of people who have, like I said, self-defense, I mean, people that get into a car accident, I mean,
Right.
you might have killed somebody or, gotten killed.
Yeah.
So, and you don't know what their history is.
And I don't know if she was like distinguishing between a murderer and a serial killer. Like I can't
Yeah.
remember which one she was focused on,
I
but
think I've probably heard it on Criminal Minds about the serial killer thing.
Yep.
But that is just a random thought. I don't want to say it's fact. We don't know. But when you're talking about people who have probably just killed other people,
Right.
the number makes a little bit more sense that way to me than it does like a serial killer. And
Yeah.
and because when we think of serial killers, we almost think of someone who's done it big.
Right.
And how many people do we hear about that like strive like those young kids that's like child killers that like, oh, I want to be a serial killer, and they are just not good people. And
Right.
at a certain age,
You can tell
it's like
just certain
they
behaviors.
don't care.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't care. And if you were to let them go on doing what they're doing, and if they weren't caught, what do you think they'd be doing now?
Exactly.
You don't want to hope that your child is like that. And a lot of serial killers, I'd say, maybe had these thoughts at a young age, and maybe as an adult they carried it out.
Well, and they also do say too some of the signs of that you may be prone to that behavior is hurting small animals, just doing like malicious stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just it's not something you really want to think about your kid doing. Another question or comment they had made is she alluded to him being abusive. I've never heard this, and even her family says otherwise. So during our podcast, there was a series of texts that I saw that in one of the comments, Shanann had kind of alluded to him being a little abusive. Now, she didn't say what physically he did, but I know she did allude to him being mentally and emotionally abusive, which can be just as detrimental as physical abuse. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not harmful. So that was another thing that I was talking about, how he was being distant. He didn't want to have sex with her anymore. He wasn't happy about the baby. He was gone often. She didn't, and then she had her suspicions that it might be another woman. So what's kind of your thoughts on that? Did you get to see those text messages, by the way?
I didn't get to see all of them. I just kind of saw what was on the documentary.
Oh, okay. Yep.
But a lot of it, I think, is if he has something to hide, he's going to be defensive. So what's the best way to be defensive is to be a little aggressive, be a little like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that because even in the text, she kind of mentioned like, I'm pretty sure he's cheating. Like she was already suspecting that well before. And if a girl's suspecting a guy of cheating, she's not going to wait to mention it. I'm sure she's mentioned it a few times. And then he's going to convince her or try to convince her, deny.
Yep.
And so if someone keeps asking you that same question, you're going to get mad. Even though they're probably right, you're going to be defensive. And according to what was said earlier, like she said, he strangled her because she wasn't going to let him see his kids again. Like, I know you want to hurt him, but at the same time, you don't say that to a parent.
Right.
If you want to get someone over the edge, and I'm not saying it's her fault, I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that if somebody told me I'm not going to see my child, I'm going to be a very different person than the cordial person I could be if you didn't say that.
Yeah.
And, it's a different kind of rage. I believe you're gonna want to protect
blind rage. You don't know what you're doing, and in the heat of the moment, it seems rational to you, but afterwards you kind of have a moment of clarity. But then by then it's too late.
Yep. And if there was a reason to have that rage come out, whether it be violent or anything like that, that would be a time that somebody could trigger me very easily if you were trying to tell me that I'm never going to see my child again. If that was what was said.
Right.
You know, and I hope that wasn't the case, but we all know what the result was.
And well, he confessed that, that's what she said and that's what alluded to him strangling her. But I feel like, and I mean, again, it's not her fault that this happened. A lot of people will say stuff when they're upset. Like if my
Yeah.
husband's coming to tell me that he's leaving me for his coworker who I suspected a while ago,
Like
and
you were right type of thing.
right,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm pregnant. We already have 2 kids. You're blowing up our entire home life. I'm going to get upset and I'm going to say the thing that I know will probably hurt you the most. Not thinking. And then, like, again, like I said, I'm not saying it's her fault, but a lot of times they tell domestic victims have a plan and don't say what you're going to do. Don't, allude to it. Don't tip them off, anything. And so I feel like when she said, you'll never see the kids again, that's probably what made him snap. Because he was already planning to leave her. I mean, the coworker that he was having an affair with was so like convinced that this was happening that she started buying a wedding dress and everything. So it's just a really tough story, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And I with the coworker, I feel like she kind of helped break the case, in my opinion, because she was like, "Hey, she knows better. It's going to lead back to her." She thought they were separated. She thought that, I mean, especially they weren't having sex together anymore, but yet here he's been with this woman for some months, and now his wife is pregnant. So when you're saying, "Oh, we're
Right.
living separate lives, just in the same house for the children," that's not always the case.
And at first, when I did like dig into it a little bit more, at first I thought the coworker was just like, "Oh yeah, this is fine. Like all this is happening," and I thought she was like an accomplice until I read the report that she actually went to the police, and I was like, "Oh well, thank God she's not, the dummy that's like, oh yeah, this is okay. Your wife disappeared. Oh,
Yeah.
but it was just, I mean, there's a lot of convoluted stuff that wrapped up and him ending up getting caught with the neighbor's video showing
I
him
love that video.
loading her body into the and there was nothing else he could say. Then you could see it in his face, he knew it was game over.
Well, that's why he was over there with like just at the neighbor's house too, just like watching the video with. And my neighbor guy, love you. You were the first to be like, something's wrong. That guy doesn't act this way. And because he was on that video with the cops.
Yeah.
To like see what he caught, because he doesn't know.
Yeah, well, even her friend, he was in text saying, don't call the police, I'll go home and check. Like he knew already what was going on. And so that's, I mean, I don't know, it's a really, really, really sad story. It hurts my heart, and like we said before, if you're not happy, just leave. Like I don't know, it's just 4 innocent lives lost for what? But on that note, too, reason why we brought this up, too, not only to address the comments and kind of give a little bit more explanation, but also the paranormal aspect of it.
Yeah.
So there was a video before, not the video that we're going to watch right now, but there was a video before that you had sent to me, and it was a body cam shot of one of the officers going up the stairs, and you see like a little girl really quickly run past in one of the bedrooms.
In the bedrooms, in the little girl's bedroom. And they say it might have been the ghost of a little girl. And there was some rumor that it was like a neighbor's child or like that best friend girl's child or something like that. So supposedly it was debunked, but I don't know who debunked that. And I know that there had been other paranormal reports about that house. And we're going to watch a couple of those videos in a little bit. There was one video that is not on here that I remember somebody driving outside the house, and it was dark. This was, I think, a month after the stuff had went down.
Right.
And they saw like a shadow figure in the window of a short person.
Ooh.
So I could not find that one for you, but I remember seeing that. They were just driving by, and it's just like...
And that's what's weird to me. Like, if it's an active police investigation, there's no one else in that house except for the police if they're going through. So why would the friend's daughter be in there or the neighbor's daughter be in the house at all? So that's why I find it hard to debunk.
If your child is playing in that house, if your child is with you and you're just trying to figure stuff out, which I understand, but your child is playing in the house of the little girl's room that is missing. you generally would be like, hey, don't mess with that. But anyway, if somebody else finds that, video and it's debunked,
And they
send
explain
it to
how they
us.
debunked it. Like,
Yeah.
send it to us so we can see it.
Like,
'Cause-
who said, oh, that was my child, I was over there.
Right.
There was something about that, because that video was quite popular for a while. But we are going to watch some of the other videos that was caught on body cam during
Yes.
that investigation as well.
And this one I have not seen, so I'm excited.
Oh, okay.
Here we have a live body cam. A K9 unit investigating a house after a murder incident.
This dude's voice.
Okay.
Not only are
See
voices
that? It
being
was
heard,
walking down the stairs.
Oh,
but
it
there's
was
apparently a
blocking?
Yeah, I saw that
mysterious
shadow
woman there
go
as well.
down the stairs.
Okay. Is
Definitely
that supposed to be like a
paranormal.
hand?
Yeah, it's like a figure. It's like that one I saw over there.
Oh, I guess I could kind of see it.
An investigation into the house of the Watts family murder.
When it goes back, do you see it going down?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't see that before.
I mean, it could be shadows, but it looks like
I can-
somebody's walking down the stairs. Is that an EVP of a no that we're supposed to be hearing? Okay. Sounds like a man's voice.
I couldn't make out the first one.
The laughing.
What in the world is that? Wow.
Is that person commenting on what
Yes.
the heck was that?
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow.
Oh.
So it was audible.
Hi. It's me. I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi.
Mimic.
Yes. Yes. The Watts family murder case. Christopher Lee Watts murdered his pregnant wife Shannon and their two daughters, Bella and Celeste, in Frederick, Colorado on August 13th, 2018. Christopher strangled Shannon, who was 3 months pregnant, and then drove to a remote oil site with their daughters. Is it possible that this girl we see on the steps here is one of the daughters of this family?
What are
Well,
your thoughts?
So, lots of stuff.
Okay.
The steps, I didn't see the movement down the steps when it did it the first time, so that was kind of cool to see. It's so hard to me because so much stuff looks like matrixing, and you can kind of see it in there, but at the same time, it did look like a hand. I could definitely make
Grabbing
out a
the railing?
hand grabbing the railing, but like the first EVP, I could not make it out. Could you hear what it was?
No, I didn't get it either. And I was like, that's a lot of BVPs.
Yeah,
for
there was
time,
that
but-
EVP, and then there was one where there was like a female voice saying something. Like I don't know if it was screaming or what.
Well, it wasn't the first one like, no, or whatever. But why? It sounded
think
like a
so.
male voice, and it was
Oh, was it?
downstairs in the living room, and it said no. But
I don't remember. I was trying to like listen. I was still thinking about the first one, and then the other one was because there was one that was like faintly when he was like panning the living room. But those are like that's a lot. But the giggling for.
I'm not
I
going to
think it's
compare
a-
it to the girlfriends as much as it
Right.
still sounds like a little girl to me.
I think it's a little kid's giggle, but like the voicemail that they have of the coworker, I'm like, it doesn't even sound the same. And why does her voice sound so like
I think
infantile?
she's trying to be cute, you know.
Oh my
like,
God.
Hey, I miss you. You know, like because you kind of get a little higher pitch when you want to be cute. But
Yeah.
it might not always work in your favor.
But-
and that what gets me is that person with the dog that acknowledged like what was that?
Yeah.
That gets me.
So that minds.
If that's
that means
what
that one
she's
was audible.
acknowledging,
I mean, it's
that blows
like
my mind.
It's like right after it, she's like, "What the heck is that?"
yeah.
So she had to have heard it. I mean, and she started backing out too.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That was kind of cool because I had never heard. I didn't know there was like extra EVPs.
When you
and
guys
stuff
had
like
done that episode, I was like, oh, don't forget there are these like paranormal things about it that
Yeah.
people have kind of brought to light. And it's, so it goes perfectly with a podcast. And I know you said you had some, questions and comments on that episode. So
Yeah, I mean that's some great evidence. I'm like, I'm gonna have to like rewatch it again after we're done, so I can hone in on what they're saying. I know sometimes when I watch Ghost Adventures, they'll think it says one thing, and I'll be like, no, it says this. I can hear it clearly, and I want to like write in, but I'm gonna listen to it afterwards.
I mean, with the EVPs, it's hard to say what people are hearing. I agree with you. It already had it on the screen, what they think it said. So part of me was like trying to hear what they're trying to tell you. So with the EVPs, it's a little iffy. And
Yeah.
the content can be different. Like if you asked it a question or if you were saying something. Now, laughter, on the other hand, that is a laugh. That is not words we misconstrue
right.
as something else.
And that's the thing that's hard about it is like, you want to listen and sometimes I'll close my eyes when I'm listening to a EVP because I might hear something different than what they put on the screen. But sometimes your brain automatically, because you see Chris on the screen, that's what you're going to hear, but it could be something completely different. So
Yeah, that one that says like this is our home. Like
yeah.
I'm like that one was really good too because they're going through my bedroom. Like if I'm dead, maybe I'll be like, this is our home.
Right. Like, what are you doing?
What are you doing going through my bedroom? I may say something like that. So
I mean, it's kind of like that. I think I talked to you about the Others. I think it was called. Where sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the
if
movie,
you haven't seen The Others, then get on that. But it's an amazing movie.
yeah, and that's kind of how it is.
I
It's
hope
like,
you've already seen it.
I hope you've seen it because I'm about to ruin it for you.
Okay,
But
5,
like
4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
spoiler alert. So like that's the same thing where she kept closing the curtains. Curtains kept coming back open, and all this time she thought she was alive and she was actually the ghost in someone else's house. So that's kind of what I thought of when I heard
Parallel
these
dimensions.
Yeah. When I saw this and I heard the EVPs, it's like she probably didn't realize that she had passed and was like, this is our home.
Yeah. I mean, it's so tragic, and and the thing that when after he murdered his wife, it was like he felt like he had to murder his children. Like, come on,
I know.
dude.
That's
Like that's your world. I'm not trying to say like she wasn't, but
I will
you made
never,
those babies. Like you
Right.
know,
I will never understand how you can look into your kids' eyes that you have had for 3 and 4 years and just do that, or anything. But it must have been a blind rage. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. And I don't know. It just hurts my heart. It's a really, really sad story. And, sad for all involved and the family mourning that loss and for the neighbors and the friends too. I mean, that's got to be devastating to be next door and have that all happen and not even realize it until the next day and not realize, oh my gosh, my camera, my regular door cam or whatever.
good thing you have all those cameras.
I
so
know, right?
if your neighbors, I mean, I feel the same way. Like there's things that we have like we have like a doorbell camera and like a one over the garage onto a driveway, but we don't everywhere. But it's nice to assure that, because when sometimes people are like, hey, did you happen to notice this? Or sometimes my neighbors' garages are open, and I'm like, guys, you want to
Yep.
shut that?
Same with us. We'll look out and we'll like message them and be like, hey, your garage is still open.
Did
It's
you
like
mean
11
to do
and-
that?
Yeah.
It's getting late. You can have it open, but it's getting late. So.
But anyways,
You got anything else to add?
no, that was pretty much it. We just wanted to make sure we address the comments because it's been a while and we hadn't gotten to it, and introduce the new elements with the paranormal video. So, but if you have anything else to add, and if you have that video that's debunking the little girl running in the room, please send it to us. Put it in the comments below so we can watch it, because we don't know where it is.
Yeah, I can't seem to find it either. I'm just trying to like look it up. And if you can find that video with there's these people just driving outside the house and there's like a shadow figure up in the window.
I'm gonna look
that
it up.
that was one of the ones I can't seem to find right now either. And I think literally that one was shortly after. I mean, he was definitely arrested at the time. His trial hadn't happened, but just. I mean, the biggest thing too, let me go back to like the girlfriend, is he was like calling her during the candlelight vigil. Like pretending he was like out of town somewhere else and like just calling her like it was no big deal. And when she started seeing those things on TV, like, everything's going to hit the fan. And I'm glad that she came forward and was like,
Me too.
guys, I don't know what happened, but this is what I know. And,
Right.
she loved him. Like, she was in love with him, and for her to come forward and like get the investigation really going is huge. So
heartbreaking all around, but that's gonna do it for us guys, and I'm stumbling over my words, so let's do this wine rating.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it again. I like it.
Yeah, I do like me a Sauvignon Blanc. I am gonna give it a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. I like how light and crisp it is. It's got that kind of like a citrus flavor. Smells good. It's really good.
Smells good, tastes good.
Yes.
1858 California. Go get yourself a bottle, and
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up.
don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
Yes,
Happy
please.
Friday, happy wine day. Send us some comments. I'm still looking for those drinks to like mix up. If you guys have some recipes for us to do.
Send it to us.
Yep. And if you have some other wine suggestions, we would appreciate that. Preferably something available locally.
Right.
But if you want to send me something from Slovakia, that'd be great too. Yep. All right. Cheers.
Thank you, and we'll see you on the other side.